Hey, Shanice.
Hi, Michelle.
We made it. We're here.
We are here.
I think we should toast to that.
All right.
Who knew? This is just coffee, by the way. All right. So, let's talk a little bit about why we decided to start a podcast.
First, who let us have a podcast?
Right. This could be dangerous.
Right.
I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
I agree. So, I believe that we started it because we have a lot of similarities. We enjoy working together, and we like to talk.
We do like to talk. I think that for me personally, I think that this is just the natural progression of this relationship and this friendship and this collaboration. So let's dive into that. Let's tell the audience how we met.
Okay, you start.
All right. So I got licensed July 3rd, 2019, and you were shortly thereafter.
July 5th or July 25th.
Right. And we didn't know each other at that time. But not
No.
too long after we were licensed, I want to say within my first 5 deals, we found ourselves on either side of a deal. I represented the seller, you represented the buyers, and it was a little touch and go there for a minute.
Let's be honest, it was rocky.
It was rocky.
It was
It was
rough.
rocky. Clients can be crazy.
It wasn't just the clients.
That's funny. Well, I think we were trying to find our way, and we weren't really sure exactly, where those boundaries were, agent to agent, because we have a responsibility to represent our clients to the best of our ability, and we kind of had to find our way to come to the table and and recognize that we also had to have a relationship.
Yes. And I think we should tell them how my clients got the home under contract.
Go for it.
I think that it was a match made in heaven and it was supposed to happen because what happened was that Saturday it snowed. So not a lot of buyers were wanting to go out and look at homes. So my buyers, they still wanted to go out. We went out, we looked at a couple of houses. Michelle's listing happened to be one of them. We wrote an offer, and I wasn't sure if it was going to be accepted, but it was because they didn't have any other offers.
Yeah, that was definitely long before this crazy seller's market that we're in now.
Correct, but we were still in multiple offer situations, and these buyers, they needed help. They needed seller's assistance.
And I remember that this is really going to test my memory, but I remember that we had gone back and forth with negotiation, and your buyers really, they kind of wanted the moon.
They did. They wanted the moon, the stars, and everything else, and I was willing to get that for them. Then what happened was I made a boo-boo in the contract, and I didn't include the seller's assistance. I did in my head on a copy that I had of the agreement of sale.
I forgot about that.
But I forgot to put that in there. That is a rookie mistake. So I am panicking. I'm at my house pacing back and forth. I did not want to call Michelle because we were not friends at this point. We were just working to get this deal done, and I was just scared to call her. So I get I guess you could say, balls to call her, and I call her, and she's like, what do you mean? And she's in Chicago. She's not even in Pennsylvania. So I just felt like I was bothering her, and she's like, well, how much do they want? And I'm like, 3%. And she's like, I just don't think my sellers can do anything else. Your buyers they want a lot of things, and I just don't think I can go back and ask them for anything. And I said, well, then my clients are going to walk away because they are under the impression that they were getting 3%. And Michelle, she said, let me see what I can do. She goes back to her sellers, and we ended up getting the 3%. But another thing that happened was we had to go meet about repair requests at the house. And I brought my electrician, she brought her electrician, and
Dueling electricians.
right. And I said to her, I said, "Are you going?" And she said, "Well, of course I'm going." And I'm just sitting there thinking, like, this lady, she won't leave me alone. She just shows up. And it was so funny because we met and there was some tension when we were there meeting with each of our electricians for our clients, but I wasn't going to allow her electrician to give my client advice without my electrician being there. So it was just funny.
Well, the beauty of that situation, though, was that both electricians had the exact same advice. And
They
I
did.
do remember distinctly at some point during the transaction, and I think this was the turning point. I remember I called you. We were in negotiations for, I don't remember what at that time, but I remember saying to you, I'm in the business of selling real estate, and you're in the business of selling real estate. Let's figure out how we can get these two parties to the table.
You did. And I remember, I carry that with me even now. I look at transactions a lot differently. It's not your side against my side.
Right.
We're working together to get to the closing table. And I think that's whenever I realized, hey, I actually kind of like her. And then I realized I'm going to write her a card for closing and I'm going to give it to her. And my clients were like, "You're going to do what?" But yeah, I definitely see that. I mean, we even had issues the day of closing with trash. And because we had that turning moment in the transaction, we were able to figure it out. And I didn't look at her as if, like, your clients are not doing what they're supposed to be doing. I just said, "Hey, how can we figure this out and make your client and my client happy?" So
I remember getting that card from you at the settlement table and thinking, wow, that was such a classy move. And I really appreciated it. And I remember walking away from that table that day thinking, she is so polished and she's so professional, and I would love to do another deal with her. I would love if all of my transactions could end the way that transaction did. It was rocky in the beginning, but we really ended on a good note, and it was the beginning of something I think that turned out to be really beautiful.
right. And we realized that it wasn't about us and it was about the transaction at that point and our clients. So that was definitely a learning experience. I still don't think that I thought that we would be the best of friends after that transaction, but I knew that I would be able to get through another one with you, which leads us to the next one.
Well, right. So I want to touch on that one before we get to some questions I have for you. So the next deal, we were on opposite sides of the transaction again. This time you were the list agent, I was the buyer agent. I don't think we were done with the first deal yet. Were we?
No, because that was listed in February. We closed on the first deal at the beginning of March, the Monday before the pandemic, the shutdown.
Right. That's right. Yes, that's right. I actually ended up putting those clients in a hotel for a couple of days until we could get them into their new home. And it was literally the day before the pandemic, before the stay-at-home order. But that second deal, I took my client to see this home. I saw that you were the list agent. He was interested in writing. I called you, and you were actually at the house. We were at another listing in the parking lot, and you were at the house that he wanted to write an offer on, presenting an offer.
Correct. I did an open house. I sat with them after because we didn't get any other offers. I'm sitting at the table and I see Michelle Parker come across my phone and she said, "Hey." I'm like, "Hey." She said, I may have an offer for you if you can do this." And we went back and forth about numbers. We negotiated right there on the phone.
We did, because it was you waited for me, and I'm so grateful for that, because you waited for me to be able to get that offer together. I actually went to Giant and sat in the beer garden to write this offer with this client to get it to you in a timely manner so you could present to your clients. And we ended up in another deal.
Yeah, and part of the reason why we ended up in that deal is because it wasn't that Michelle's offer was any better, honestly. It was because it was Michelle. And I said, I know that we are going to make it. And these clients were buying and selling at the same time, so they couldn't have something fall apart. So I think that realtors, if you are listening, that you should know that it really matters. Your name is everything.
It is. And I think relationships are everything. And the fact that we were able to, we had come so far in that one deal, we kind of knew each other's communication style. We'd figured out how to talk to each other, how to, how to, I don't want to say come at each other, but, we had a rapport at that point. And I do, when I'm looking at contracts on my listings, I do look to see who the agents are. Not that that's going to necessarily be the deciding factor because it has to be the right offer for the client, but being able to say, listen, I know this agent and I know that we're going to get to the finish line, that does carry some weight.
It's important because getting to the finish line is what both clients want. And sometimes termination isn't always the answer.
Right.
We just go there quickly when maybe we can figure something out. So I really enjoy that about Michelle. And we ended up closing both of those deals during, no, the one we closed in person, and then the other deal that we were just discussing, we closed during quarantine.
We did, and we actually had a happy hour FaceTime and toasted to the deal closing successfully and everybody being happy.
Yes, and it was great.
It was. It was awesome. All right, so I have some questions for you. Are you ready?
Okay, shoot.
Okay. What was your first impression?
This is this is PG, right?
Yes, it's PG. Oh my gosh.
No, I could say several words that I thought. But when people get to know me, they know that, like, I think that. So, yeah, I was quick to judge, but it turned around quickly. So, yes, I did not think you were the nicest person. I thought you were very snappy and short, and I was like, why is she being so mean to me?
I can be very matter of fact.
You are, but I like that.
I'm direct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what do you think of me?
Okay. So I'm going to get a little bit into age because that's one of the things that I think is so great about our relationship. We are from two different generations. You're around the same age as my son, and I remember thinking that you were just incredibly professional for your age and that you conducted yourself in a manner that I would put on par with my professionalism.
That's so sweet.
So, yeah, I was impressed.
Good. I'm glad. I'm impressed, Michelle Parker.
I wasn't scared.
All right. And I think that's like shows like also your age, because in my age, because I was looking at it like, why is she being like this, when I really should have just been looking at it like she, is being professional, trying to get us through this transaction and just representing her client the best that she can. Because looking back on it, she wasn't being mean to me. She was just being direct, and she was running her business. Whereas in the early part of my career, I still have my emotion in the transactions, whereas now I don't. So I don't take things personally. I was still in that place of taking things personally.
It's so hard sometimes to not take things personally, and I really do not like your client can have a bad day. My client can have a bad day. What I don't think is acceptable is taking that client's bad day to the other agent.
Correct. I agree.
I've had that done to me by other agents. I've had clients who maybe didn't do the right thing at a showing, or they canceled a showing, or they were just really frustrated because it's an overwhelming process. And I've had them call me and take that out on me. And, I have to have a conversation with the other agent, but I can't take their frustration into that conversation and take that same tone with the other agent, because that doesn't get us anywhere.
But that's why, we are who we are, because we're able to model that And then other agents are able to see that because you modeled that with me, and now I'm able to carry that into other conversations or with other agents. So, I mean, I think it's just we have to see it because we real estate agents, we aren't really taught how to conduct ourselves in a transaction.
No, and I want to say that that was such culture shock for me because I did come from a very corporate background. I came from, a very professional leadership style position. And it took me a minute to realize that anybody can get a license and that we are dealing with realtors, licensed professionals who are coming from so many different backgrounds and so many different levels of experience with so many different skill sets that you really have to take a minute and just kind of meet people where they are. It was I don't know, I just walked into this thinking that everybody was going to have, the same level of professionalism, and that's just not the case.
They don't. It's learned and taught, and you get it along the way, and hopefully you do get it. Some don't, but that's okay. They normally weed
We
out.
just look for their names on contracts. I'm just kidding. All right, so next question.
So, when did you know that we were going to be friends?
Oh, I decided pretty early on.
Okay. I pretty much knew after we had the happy hour, then we scheduled a meeting after the world opened up a little bit in Pennsylvania. We decided that we would go out for dinner. And after that, I kind of just knew like we were going to be friends. And we were talking more, texting, anytime we had questions and things like that. And then, yeah, so after that meeting when we met in person, I knew.
Yeah, we kind of like helped each other through other transactions and bounced ideas off of each other and kind of tested the water.
Yeah.
And then, decided that we like each other.
Yeah, so I was like, okay, maybe we can do this.
So, did you see us here in this space when we first became friends?
No, not at all. Because when I become friends with someone, I guess I don't look at are we going to have a business relationship, more of like we're going to be friends. So no, I didn't see any of this.
I have to say that I did not either. I feel like this relationship, both business and professional, has progressed at such a fast rate. And I think some of that is because we're both really creative souls, and we have the same goal. We want to be the best for our clients, but we're also building a business. And we're going to touch on this in another episode, but we want to take what we've learned and help other people be as successful or more successful than we are. And
Correct.
EXP is the vehicle that allowed us to do that.
And I think that also where we relate is we started around the same time and we've both had a lot of success very quickly, where agents that maybe have been doing this for 5, 10 years, they are just now reaching maybe the success that they initially wanted. And so we're kind of the things that I like to go back to is when I first started, they said that at 5 years, that's whenever you would hit, success at 5 years. That a lot of people say that in the industry, a lot of older agents or successful agents. But 2 years in, and we're reaching success that I know that I never thought that I could do. But once I started to do it, now you can't tell me that I can't do it.
Right now, I feel like the sky's the limit, and
Right.
I did not. My first year was unbelievable.
Amazing.
It really was.
She's being modest right now, but her first year was amazing.
It was not what I expected at all. I mean, I had a lot of doubt, and to be completely transparent, I got licensed in July, and at Christmas, I was thinking. I literally said to Mike, "I'm not sure this is for me. I I don't. Maybe this is a dream that I need to give up on, which I've never had to do before." And I really thought that perhaps this was not going to work and I was not going to be able to find my way to success. And then the floodgate opened.
I had the same feeling around the same time that December. I was trying to find reasons to or ways to quit because it just wasn't working. And then as soon as January hit, it was kind of like it never stopped.
Even in spite of the pandemic.
Yeah. There was no pandemic in our businesses.
No, and I mean, we live in a state where, we were told that we were not essential, that housing was not essential, real estate was not essential, and we were not allowed to show homes or we were not allowed to continue to conduct business. So I feel that our success is even greater because in spite of that, we had a record year. We had an amazing year.
Yeah, and we
both
want to
did.
show other people how to be successful very quickly. And everybody's success is different. And
Everybody's definition of success is different, yes.
And everybody's goals are different. So our goal is to help people meet their goals, not Shanice's goal or Michelle's goal. So I think that that's really important to us. And we want to inspire other women and other men as well, too, that you can come from wherever, any background, and you can be successful in real estate. You just have to be willing to put in the work.
So when I first met you, one of the things that I was so impressed with, and I felt a kinship because I was a single mom, was that you were a single mom and you had decided that you were going to take on this huge endeavor of becoming a full-time realtor. And I remember having, conversations with you just about how passionate I was about helping women find financial freedom, because that's where freedom lies, period. Financial freedom is very, very important for women, in my opinion. So I was really excited that we got to continue to work together and that I got to share some of my life experience with you. And I'm just incredibly proud of the woman, the businesswoman, and the mom that you are.
Thank you. I'm really honored and grateful that I get to have a friend, a business partner that I can learn from every single day, and we can still be friends and it's still fun, because I think sometimes business relationships are just business, but we are actually friends outside of it too, which is nice. And we do give each other grace in business and friendship, which I think is really important. And I think you taught me that it's not always going to be perfect. So I really appreciate that.
Aw. I want to go back to something that you touched on, and that is that statistic that you won't really find the success that you are looking for until you hit your 5-year mark. I just want to run back to that for a second and add a couple more statistics. So according to the National Association of Realtors, over 80% of new realtors don't make it into their second year.
I had some people that didn't even make it out of the class.
Well, there's that. I mean, that class is boring.
No, I mean, they didn't even take their test. Like, they took the test for the class, but they didn't take their state test.
Well, I think that I think we had a record number in Pennsylvania last year of new realtors. And I just remember thinking when we had the pandemic and the stay-at-home order, that was really going to impact how many realtors stayed in the game, stayed in the business. Because if 80% of new realtors don't make it through their first year, last year was definitely a test.
Right. And I think a lot of people came into the business during the pandemic, which I didn't expect, because they were getting laid off. They had time to think. So I think in the next, towards the end of this year and then the next year, we're going to see who's going to get weeded out still, because they got into this thinking that it was going to be easy. 20% is not a lot.
No. And then of that 20%, The other statistic that really struck me as a new realtor is that 20% of the agents do 80% of the work. And that's true. And you see that because you do run into the same agents over and over and over again if you're an active agent in your market.
Correct. And that it just baffles me so much because how do you, I mean, I guess if you're doing it part-time, but our fees are, we have so much we have to pay for to be an active real estate agent and to have all the tools that we need that it doesn't even make sense.
And that's outside of the brokerage that you decide to go to. Those are your national association dues, your local association dues, your state association dues, your MLS dues. I mean, yeah. And then you've got your broker fees, and some are exorbitant. We'll have to do an episode on that at some point. How you choose the right brokerage for you, what's important to you, what you think you need as a new realtor, and maybe even as an experienced realtor, an established agent.
Yeah.
So, Shanice, where do you see this collaboration in 2 years? And I chose 2 years because we're only 2 years into this relationship and we're already here.
We're not 2 years into this relationship.
Well, that's true.
It's
not even.
Yeah, maybe like a year and a half. I honestly do not know. But now that I know what we were able to do in a year and a half, I just see this relationship taking off as far as business and with our teams and things like that. I just can see it just growing into something huge. I don't know what huge is yet, but
I think it's going to be wilder and bigger than either of us can imagine because neither one of us think small.
No, and I don't think small. I try to think within, I don't know the word that I'm looking for, reasonably or realistically. And then I met Michelle, who just is wild. She just goes for it, which is amazing because you need that. You need people like that in your life because she's one of those people that will tell you that you can do anything and then you'll do what you didn't think you could do, and now like
there's a new bar.
Yeah, like you can't tell me anything, and that's because of Michelle always believing in the people that are around her, which is amazing. So
well, I'm excited to see where we are in 2 years. I think that we should make some notes and come back to this in 2 years and see how much more we accomplished than we thought we were going to, because that's what always happens.
Yeah, what's that thing that you put into the ground?
Like a time capsule?
Yeah, we should do that.
We should do that. That would be fun.
Yeah.
I do want to take a minute and just recognize a couple of people who have helped us make this podcast happen. We have, Beth Ann's not with us today, but Beth Ann McCoy has been instrumental in helping us with some of our scripting and our intro, and she has done some research for us on the podcast world. And then we have Abbi DiTonno, who is she's present. She's actually behind the camera right now. Ooh. She is a recent Penn State grad, and she graduated with her degree in photojournalism. And she is going to be editing and in charge of all of our creative content. So we will put her information in our show notes so that if you are interested in photography, photo shoots, pretty much anything that has to do with a camera, she's your girl.
Yeah, and we will put our information in the show notes. And anytime that we would mention anything in any of our podcast episodes, we would put that in there as well.
So this was a fun first episode.
Yeah, I can't believe we made it through.
Yeah. All right. Well, we hope that you enjoyed this and that you will be back for more. And until next time.
Bye, guys.
Bye.